So Anton, how did you learn Japanese? Like honestly, that's a hard question. I still consider myself a student. I study every day. There's still a lot of things I don't know about this beautiful language, about this beautiful culture. In this video, I will teach you how my Japanese language journey started. Let's go! So I visited Japan for the first time 2015. I was here for 2 months modeling. I've been modeling in America, Europe, and my agency here in Tokyo. They brought me here. Went to a casting in Sweden and they brought me here for a 2-month modeling contract. Crazy experience. I lived in Roppongi, only hanging out with foreigners, and I basically could say konnichiwa or maybe arigato the moment I left. That was 7.5 years ago. And since then, my view on Japan has changed and my Japanese have improved. And also I live here in Japan. What a dream, hey? So my modeling career started in Europe about 12 years ago, and thanks to that, I came here. But also, maybe it's an excuse, but because of my modeling career, I never really went to university. I've tried studying online through Swedish university. We pay a lot of tax. Education is free. Amazing system. I can honestly say that from living in different places. Like, we're very spoiled and Sweden is a great place to live. Japan is also a very good place to live, but Sweden is not bad at all. Anyway, so because of my modeling, I tried to study a lot of things online, but when you're really busy with work, maybe you work, I don't know, 25 days a month, you travel here, you travel there, and yeah, school was lacking for me. I probably have about 3/4 of a degree, but I never finished it. And it's kind of a complex. But me, as a person, I just like learning things. Learning about things I don't know. I'm just a curious person. I went here, I really liked it here. I came back here for a client one time and I thought, maybe I should start learning Japanese. I bought a few books online. I remember I was abroad, I came home to my mom's house in Stockholm and I had these Japanese books and I started studying. It was very hard. I didn't speak, I couldn't read, write hiragana, katakana, but I used flashcards, I remember. Now there are probably better apps and stuff. This was not pre-internet, but it was a few years ago. We didn't have AI or anything like this. But I learned with these Genki books, the most famous Japanese books, I think. A year later, I went back to Japan for another 2-month contract and I extended another month. I still stayed in Roppongi, basically only hanging out with foreigners, but I could understand more just by reading and studying a bit in these books. And that second time really got me hooked on Japan. And I remember I really didn't want to leave the country. After that, I went back to New York and that was when I really started studying almost every day. And that was when I knew, I'm gonna learn Japanese and one day I'm gonna move to Japan. I started slowly but steady learning more and more, getting more and more involved in the Japanese language. So I came back a year later in 2017 for another 2-month modeling contract. I stayed in Roppongi again as the last time, and I still couldn't really speak any Japanese. I just knew hiragana, katakana, and knew a little bit more of the culture. In Sweden, we don't really learn about Asian cultures. I guess it's the same in other countries in Europe. We learn a lot about European history and Swedish history, but not too much about Asia. Maybe I have some other Swede there in the comments who can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my opinion. I didn't really know what is Japan, what is Korea, what is China. I mean, Japan has a lot of elements from China, but now I know these things, but I didn't know at the time. So you could say I got like a crash course in Japan before moving here. A year later, I came back for another 2-month contract, and that was when I knew I wanted to move here and live a life here in Tokyo, Japan. I got back to Sweden. My sister graduated school in Sweden and I was around in Europe working for the summer. That was when I bought this Read Real Japanese in London, for example, and a lot of other study books. I bought a lot of different books, trying different things, very eager to learn, a lot of YouTube, watching a lot, listening to a lot. And I moved here that fall after talking it through with my modeling manager. And for the first time, I didn't stay in a modeling apartment. I moved into a share house, not too far away from my agency, with Japanese-speaking roommates. I mean, we had separate rooms, but it was a really good place. And my roommates taught me a lot. Mostly foreigners who've done the same journey as me, maybe in a different way, maybe they weren't modeling. Edgar, he moved to Kobe and stayed with a host family his first years, and now he works here. Very corporate life, which I don't really. And at the same time, when I moved into this share house, I started studying Japanese, as I promised my manager. If you're gonna live here, you're gonna study the culture, study the language, and you gotta learn how to speak Japanese. I followed his orders, but Japanese language school here, maybe the school I went to wasn't really that good. I mean, I didn't need the student visa, and I felt like the students around me, they were there more to have fun. Maybe I was too serious, but I really wanted to learn. I mean, I was here for work, and on top of that, I wanted to learn. But I felt like going to school was kind of a waste of time, and I felt like I could learn way more just by studying on my own, go to izakayas, learn from my Japanese friends, real Japanese. So I signed up for Japanese full-time school, 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. And because of my work, maybe I had a shooting, maybe I had a casting, I couldn't attend a lot of the time school was. Also, I didn't find it that fun, so I think I was in school about 40%. And also I paid money to go to this school. I really didn't like being back in school. So I really thought about, what should I do to learn Japanese if I can't go to school? And I remember one day in the share house, my roommate, Shiho-san, she is a sound technician working for huge Japanese movies, like movie projects. We were sitting in the share house eating ice cream, I think. And we had the TV on. And it was this Japanese casting director called Narahashi Yoko-san on TV getting interviewed by someone from TED Talks, I reckon. And Shiho pointed at her and said, "Oh, that's Yoko Narahashi. She's running a Japanese acting school. And she's also a great Japanese director. By the way, she has a school you should attend." And I thought about, yeah, I like acting. I'm taking a few acting lessons. And my sister back home in Sweden, she's an actress. She lives in Los Angeles right now. But I thought about it and I was like, maybe they have some acting classes in English, I thought. Just to get a hold of, like, what is this school? And it made me think, maybe I should start going there. I don't know. So I called them up a few days later, and Kobayashi-san, the receptionist, she answered, "Yeah, we have this, we have that." Her English wasn't really that good, and my Japanese, I've lived here for, I don't know, 3 months at the time, 2.5 possibly. And she invited me to come and check out one of their classes. They had like a 3-month course, twice a week, evening times, fitted me perfectly. I started going there, but honestly, these 3 months, I didn't understand anything. But I realized, like, the Japanese they were using there, it was real, it was pure, it was feelings. It was a great studying environment. Like, how do they interact with each other? You were sitting there, the teacher gave them advice, like real Japanese, not textbook Japanese. "Watashi no namae wa Anton." It was more like, "Watashi no namae wa Anton desu." And then they were teaching the students in a great way. I could even understand, like, some things I could understand, even like I had no idea the words they were talking about, but I understood. After going there for 3 months, twice a week, I decided to try out an audition to go for the full-time course, 3 times a week, full days. So it was an audition. It's actually a 2-year course, but I will get to that later. I auditioned, I got in, paid the money, and started studying acting 3 days a week while still modeling. My managers and the school and me, I had to really manage my schedule. It was fun. Maybe I couldn't attend a class or 2, but like I did my study. It was way more fun than going to Japanese school. I made great friends. I learned a lot, not only about Japanese itself, but also about Japanese culture, tongue twisters, reading Japanese scripts. They had this acting exercise called the repetition. It's a Meissner exercise, a very famous acting teacher, about like, you just talk about the things in front of you, right? "Oh, you're sad, I'm sad, you're sad. Anata naiteru, watashi naiteru, anata naiteru." So all these things, these words for feelings, became like an action-reaction in a different way than just learning to speak mechanically like you did in Japanese school, in my opinion. You also learn the tongue twisters, history, famous Japanese plays. Yeah, I had fun. I had fun learning Japanese, but I would never do it again. Going to Japanese school is very different. People really respect their teachers. There's one thing I love about Japanese culture, just the respect and the calmness around, but if you're the nail that sticks out, someone's gonna hammer you down. I remember first day in school, I was the first foreign student that couldn't speak Japanese in this honka, the main course, and the other students, I don't think they really knew how to handle me. And I didn't really know anything. I was just a nervous little Swedish doll walking around, I felt. I didn't know that you had to wear slippers to go to the bathroom. I didn't know that you had to sit down in the classroom like this all the time. I remember one of the first days, I was just laying in the classroom like this. This was one of the first days, so I didn't even know this student at the time. And I was laying down like this. And the teacher was giving us like a lesson. I don't remember what it was about, but After the lesson, one of the other students came up to me and told me something like that I was really rude for not like sitting straight up, straight back and listening to the teacher. I didn't make enemies or create any scene, but the teacher saw it, but she didn't say anything about it, I remember. So this acting school taught me a lot about Japanese culture that I could have never experienced somewhere else, I think. If you want to learn more about acting school in Japan, I can talk more about that specifically in another movie. But I finished the first year. We had a big play, about an hour. I played an American soldier standing outside Sakura, a cherry blossom tree, waiting. Very sad story, but it was fun. We rehearsed for months and yeah, it was fun. I've been in a few other like big productions later on through my real job, but this made the kiso, the base, for my Japanese acting experiences. And while doing acting, I was also studying for the JLPT, the Japanese Proficiency Test, and just learning Japanese every day. Every information I could get a hand of, I was taking it. Okay, online classes, YouTube, reading script, acting school. I was just living my life in Japanese, even though I didn't understand it. Very taihen, very hard. I'm happy I did it. My Japanese is still far from perfect, I think, and I'm still studying every day. Then COVID hit and I bought an old Akia, a Japanese abandoned house. I was broke. I didn't have money to pay the tuition fee. And also I didn't want to study acting in Japanese online 3 days a week. It just wasn't for me. So I talked to the school and showed them my honest opinions and yeah, I quit after only 1 year. It should have been a second year, but I never graduated the school. I don't know like what the difference would have been, but I'm happy I did so because I had my Akia and I was basically a full-time carpenter because I didn't even have any modeling jobs for like 3 months either. This is funny with Japanese. I think it's the same all over the world. Like the fashion industry here in Japan, people speak in a certain way. Then salarymen, very corporate people, they use keigo and it's a complete different language. And when I started doing renovation work here, getting involved with like real estate agents, getting involved with Japanese carpenters, with plumbers, like earthquake safety and stuff, I would have never learned this in acting school. I would have never learned this in the fashion industry. My modeling managers, they would have never known these words at all, you know? I know like woodwork and DIY from Sweden. Like I've done this since I've been a child. So like I knew the basics, but the way of doing it in Japanese is completely different. And they do some things so much better. And then they do other things not as good. They have earthquake safety. You gotta learn these things too with pros. Things I couldn't learn on my own, right? So I can speak some terminology in the fashion world, some terminology in the acting world, and then also now some terminology in the DIY renovation world. Because most of the carpenters and people involved in building and woodwork in Japanese, they don't speak English. I don't think I know anyone. So I think I covered a lot in this video. It's very zakuri, very general at the moment. But a lot of you have requested it. How did you learn Japanese, Anton? And here's a quick story of it. I think I'm pretty happy with my level of Japanese. I'm still studying a lot. 2 years ago, I started making YouTube videos in Japanese, learning how to edit. Japanese YouTube and English YouTube, way different. Japanese YouTube, a lot of text everywhere, a lot of information in my case. But I learned how to speak to the camera, correct my mistakes, correct how I looked, correct how to say things, and also being more and more able to talk from your heart, like I almost can do in English, I guess. So YouTube helped me a lot. See yourself on screen, correct things you don't like. Hear yourself, correct things with your speech patterns that you don't like. I'm still learning this in English because I haven't done this in English before. I don't think I will ever become like a real Japanese salaryman. And keigo, the most polite way of speaking, or sonkeigo, I don't really master that. I don't really master real Japanese as well, but I can get myself understood in almost every situation. Whether I'm at the kuyakusho, whether I'm talking to my carpenter, whether I'm talking to a photographer I'm working to, whether I'm talking to my manager when they don't speak English. I'm pretty content, but I'm still learning a lot. This was my journey to fluency, how I learned Japanese by Anton in Japan. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Maybe it was too much information in one video, but I think you get it. Thanks a lot for watching, and please watch my renovation videos as well.